Look at this. So Florio tweeted, here's something on which Chris Sims and I agree. You can't sit Trey Lance for a year when he's just basically sat out for a year. You agree with that?
Really quick, did you see one of the biggest reasons he played in the one-off game was because at that level to like validate those guys' scholarships? Like he actually did all these other guys on the team a solid. He did not need to play in the game. They had the one-off game against.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying like his playing in the game had something to do with getting guys scholarships verified or something. I don't know.
I remember hearing that part of it was like getting other guys seen.
Yeah, it had something to do with the scholarships is what I read. I'm going to have to do more digging on that.
Got it.
Listen, you know where I stand, and I'll give you credit. I thought you put it really well last week. I would rather see a rookie on a training wheel offense and ease your way in and getting playing time than just sitting. And I've heard Carson Palmer talk about this. And he's kind of the last of, even though he's only like 40 years old, but like when he came in the league, like that 01, 02, maybe even up to like 03, 04 was still you had to earn your stripes. You sit behind and you learn. That is fucking thrown out the window this decade. And I'm a big believer.
Mahomes did do it.
Throw it out the window. He was rare because he went to a kick-ass team who I saw Jeff Schwartz tweeted out earlier today. Since Andy Reid has been with the Chiefs, they've hit the over every single year.
Does that mean bet the over, or is everyone going to bet the over this year? I don't know what their number is. This will be a podcast topic, I'm sure.
I could see their number being like 12.5 with the 17th game. Gets a little risky. But the point is, not many rookie quarterbacks, highly drafted guys, have ever gone to a team consistently winning 11 to 13 games a year. Yeah. That's kind of a one-off situation that I believe, I'm a Cal Poly, we learn by doing. I do think you benefit more. Now, one thing we talked about, and you showed me a tweet or someone else had said about packages for him.
I'm sorry. Somebody had that good idea. Like they compared it a little bit to the Saints. I mean, I would say the Niners did it with Colin initially, right?
Before I got to the Eagles, Vic's first year with the Eagles, they used some plays for him with Donovan McNabb. Like he was, right. They had packages for him. Now it's a little different, but coming out of prison, getting drafted 3rd overall. But he just needed his legs under him. But I do think you've seen get packages for players.
I'm sorry, you're just clarifying there's a difference between coming from prison and getting drafted 3rd overall?
He had to get his legs back under him. Yeah.
I thank you for making that distinction.
I'm a big Michael Vick guy.
No, I know. But you're right. That's a unique spot in that you're trying to get him up to. This guy can be an NFL starter. You knew that.
Yeah.
But the other thing was you had Donovan McNabb.
But even the next year, my first year there, Kevin Cobb was the starter. Michael Vick just came in because he got hurt. He got a concussion. Mike took the job and never left.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times you come in with the plan, and the first game of the season, Clay Matthews concussed Kevin, and the rest is history. Where just last year, for example, I think happens in football more than the other two sports because the injury element happens so quick. Last year, Tyrod Taylor. Now, I mean, it's not a normal injury, but something happens. Herbert came in. It was so clear after that week that are like, I don't give a shit what they say. Even if Tyrod, that his lung, he was able to play next week, you deserve to get fired if you put Tyrod Taylor after just his first game against the Chiefs, which was week 2. That sometimes all it takes is even if he gets some snaps or packages or a series and Jimmy's struggling, you could know right away. But you never know in football until you play in games.
Well,
that's the thing.
Mike Tyson's line, famous. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, punched in the mouth. I tend to think a lot of times. Now, we'll spend a lot of time talking about all these scenarios.
Do you think with the addition of MMA, we could say, or kick to the leg? Or,
yeah.
I mean,
everyone's got a plan until their fibula snaps.
Yeah.
But I think we'll spend a lot of time talking about this because you have to have a plan. But these things tend to take care of themselves.
But we know their plan right now, right? It's Jimmy's a starter. But to me, the question is is Trey the backup? Or is Trey is Sudfeld or another guy the backup and he's just working with the young guys? Because this guy's the backup, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened last year, the way we talked about Jordan Love when he was not the backup.
But do you remember when Carson Wentz was drafted? Little similar situation. Carson, for a senior, hadn't started that many games. He'd only been a couple-year starter.
Right.
And he had broke his thumb his senior year. The plan Carson was the third string quarterback because they had a big picture. They had Sam Bradford, third string quarterback. Then Teddy's leg falls off. They flip Bradford, and maybe this is part of just those first couple weeks of training camp. They're like, God, Carson is just sweet. Carson started week 1. My ultimate point here is plans change in National Football League at rapid speed.
Well, they could change if one guy starts, the other guy just gets a package. But I think in the scenario we're talking about, where it is going to be difficult, and I saw Kyle said this, and you and I talked about this last week, when you asked me, I think you asked the question, like, do you think Trey Lance can beat Jimmy out? It's the odds are stacked against him based on the most
week talking about week 1.
Yeah, just can he, before the season starts, overcome the massive head start that Jimmy Garoppolo has based on experience, based on knowledge of the offense, based on
playing in the NFL,
chemistry with teammates. Yeah, based on playing the NFL, based on, you know what, something we don't talk a lot about. Jimmy Garoppolo, I would say, absolutely has a chip on his shoulder. So, you know, he's got a lot to prove. It's just going to be, he should.
Does he?
Well, I mean, he should. I don't know if he does or not, I guess, but he should, based on what's going on around him right now. And it's just going to be hard. Now, I think back to the Florio point, we talk about, you know, the Saints. What would your plan be? That's what we're talking about, not how will this play out. What would your plan be if Jimmy Garoppolo is your starter week 1? I like this idea of this guy's not played for 2 years. Let's get his feet wet. Let's do things with him, and let's just see. We saw it with Colin. Not a ton. I think you can do more with Trey Lance.
Do you remember Colin's rookie year?
I remember Colin running some packages, not throwing the ball a ton.
I have to go back and look
you
at the
were
stats.
working in the league
I know he
time.
played, but it felt like now granted that was Harbaugh's first year, right?
I think it was Harbaugh's first year. They were a little resistant to, you know, Alex had carried the team. Well, I guess it was the year prior, right, to 12.
Oh, you're right. Alex had played a year.
It was 11. He came in 11.
Yeah, he came in Harbaugh's first year. They drafted a quarterback.
So it really was year 2 that they used him in the packages
to start the season, and then he ended up starting when Alex got hurt.
Looking at it here, he played in 3 games as a rookie, but 12 was really when they started, I think, mixing him in a little bit more.
I do think Colin, for example, was much more of a project as a passer. Because let's face it, most people listening to this, most people that talk still to this day about Kaepernick, fucking watched 10 minutes of Nevada game his entire career. You and I, we live the whack diehards.
He was the old whack, baby.
He was an elite whack player, but as a passer, he was a major work in progress. Like, to me, he was a true redshirt guy who went early in the second round, right?
Yeah. Trey Lance, I think, you and I have talked about this throughout the last month. I think, for me, there's not a comparison to Trey Lance's passing ability coming into the NFL. I think he throws with more touch, more complete player coming in. And again, he went 3rd, and Colin, you know, now
Colin was
going
the
second round this year.
I think they run on time, speed, pretty similar. I feel Colin's much more of a breakaway hitter, right?
Would Kaepernick have gone in the second round in 2021?
0 chance. He goes top 15. Yeah.
And he doesn't get a year and a half, basically, to redshirt in all likelihood. Maybe he would have. I don't know.
He had played a lot. I mean, he had dominated.
In college, yes. He had played a lot of college football.
How's Kaepernick not a top 10 pick? The equivalent now.
Well, I mean, Justin Fields wasn't.
Yeah, so you never know.
Justin Fields was a better prospect.
So, I mean, top 20 pick. He's getting drafted high.
Yeah. So, but in any event, to me, this feels right to me. Like, now, if Trey Lance comes in and takes Jimmy's job, well, then that's what he did, and great. But
technically, he just got the playbook on like Saturday from Scangarillo, you know.
Technically, he been running plays since John Beck started putting him in the playbook a month and a half.
I mean, like legitimately, I think they said Kyle didn't know if or not. I'm gonna assume he showed up Saturday. They just spent some time. Like it's kind of starting now to like, wow, this is no longer just running plays with John Beck. This is now like I'm eventually gonna get on this field pretty soon. These guys are gonna.
You agree though? He's gonna be hard pressed to catch up by week 1 for a team that's trying to win. That's the other thing. Like, this is a team that wants to win week 1.
I just had the thought yesterday, just walking around, just kind of hit me like it's probably pretty exhilarating for him right now. A lot's coming at him fast because the pressure of being the pick, just the play calls. It is going to be very, very difficult. We'll have to see. I mean, do the Niners team, do they actually have an OTA? Because if they don't, I'll say it'll be basically impossible for him to start week 1.
Is
If
he
it,
gonna play
if it was
4
normal
quarters of
OTAs,
3
I would
preseason
say
games?
what?
Is he going to play like 3 quarters of 3 preseason games? What are they going to do?
I would imagine he gets a lot of run in preseason games. Or do you?
Potentially,
It's kind
I don't know. I mean,
of. You want him out there with backup offensive lineman?
you want him out there.
He's going to play.
So but the point is, I like this. I like the idea of let's find ways to mix him in, because this is the one thing you would say that's easy about it is he does do things that Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't do. It's easy to justify, but how do you do it when you think you're a Super Bowl contender, right? That makes it a little difficult, I would say, when Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't played a lot of football, John, the last year and a half.
I listen. I think we saw it with Wiseman. Not obviously the Niners on paper are better than the Warriors on paper heading into the season. First, you got to think big picture. You got to think like it's all about Trey Lance. Like I don't think the Warriors did a great job. I mean, they've even admitted it, like with James Wiseman, right? They just yanked him around. It's different in basketball because everyone plays. But my point is, you do whatever's best for the big picture of this guy. The secondary to me is like Super Bowl contender. I mean, they've made the playoffs once in 4 years. Like,
I'm with you.
Like, I think that gets a little overhyped.
And that's just the way they think of themselves.
Well,
right?
I know,
but this is not the same roster.
To me, it's like be a wild card contender. That's good.
Yeah.